I am a 43-year-old man, and I try my best to support my 38-year-old wife and our two kids, age 3 and 5. I also take care of my mother-in-law. I think I'm doing a decent job. Over the years, I have worked hard to improve our family's living situation. I completed another bachelor's degree and recently a master's degree in a STEM field. During this time, I worked 2 full-time jobs while also supporting my wife's education. She chose a healthcare field where she can earn a good salary of around $60,000 to $70,000 per year, and there are always job opportunities. However, after our 2 kids were born, she decided to become a stay-at-home mom for now. It was challenging at first, especially when I was finishing up my master's degree. But once I completed it, my career started to take off, and now we can manage our expenses with a single income. We are not rich, but we do all right as a family of 4, earning a little over $150,000, not including bonuses. Last year, my wife felt overwhelmed with life, so even though I now work from home 75% of the time, I decided to hire a daytime nanny to help her with one child while the other is in school. I wake up between 5:36 a.m. every day. Before the nanny arrives at 8 a.m., I get the house ready for the day. I wake up our oldest child, help them get ready for school, make breakfast, plan my day, drop off our child at school, and return home in time to let the nanny in. Recently, my work has me working from home for the next 2 months. Even though I am at home, I am busy with meetings all day as I manage teams globally and oversee projects in my industry. I notice that my wife usually starts her day at 10 a.m., even though she says she is stressed at home. I asked my mother-in-law and the nanny, and they said that my wife's routine varies, sometimes starting earlier and sometimes later. My wife wakes up, cooks, and then spends time on her phone or shopping online, which is what bothers me. I am happy that I can provide her with this kind of life, especially since we both grew up with limited means. I understand the challenges of postpartum depression, the stress of raising children, feeling unfulfilled, and the thought that I may not be a good husband. But despite all that, I take care of everything and more. I handle the household finances because she said she was too busy. I pay for all the household expenses, my own bills, her bills, and I take care of maintaining our appliances, cars, pets, and more. Additionally, I also help pay for my mother-in-law's medical bills and car expenses. She thinks her life is much harder than mine. I find it difficult to share my feelings with her because she always makes it a competition. If I had a tough day, she claims hers was worse because I got to travel for work. I may complain about sore feet from walking a lot during work trips, but she believes her day is harder from standing and cooking with a child around. For the past couple of years, she has blamed me for ruining her life and opportunities. However, when I remind her of what she says, she denies it and avoids taking responsibility. My mother-in-law has noticed changes in both of us. I have become more attached to my children and even find more solace in talking to our dogs than to my wife. I feel like I am just trying to survive emotionally as I aim for career advancement, but also struggle to find love and comfort, even contemplating turning to alcohol to numb the pain. I want to know and feel that someone I care about, other than my kids, appreciates and loves me for what I do. With her mother and a nanny taking care of one toddler while the other child is at school Monday to Friday, can you honestly say she's having the typical stay-at-home mom experience? Because my single-parent friends and colleagues don't think she is. Others on Reddit might think my post is poorly written, but this is just how I feel. In short, it seems like my wife has emotionally disconnected from our marriage. It feels like we're just roommates, and she still gets the benefits of marriage. I'm not asking for her to always dote on me and let me have my way. I really just want to be told that I'm doing a good job and to receive some emotional support, even just a hug. But I guess as the man who she thinks ruined her life, I probably don't deserve it. Thank you for the responses. Here is some additional context. 1. I want to clarify that I have never cheated. I work in an industry with many women, but I'm always open about my work. My wife could see all my work schedules and communications if she wanted to. but she still doesn't know exactly what I do for a living. 2. Our whole family, including both sets of parents, has tried to get her to go to therapy, but she refuses or avoids the issue. 3. Regarding our family backgrounds, while I grew up with a single mother, my biological dad was present in my life. On the other hand, she has had both parents in a supposedly faithful marriage for over 40 years. 4. I have tried to talk to her about everything and express my own feelings, but it always turns into a one-upping competition. 5. When asked what I am getting out of the marriage, I have been asking myself that same question. Our sex life has been nearly non-existent, especially since last year. I always thought maybe it's because she's going through depression or something else. Maybe I'm just not attractive enough or not good in bed due to my health conditions. Although it may be tempting, I have never given in because I truly love my wife and only want to be with her. 6. I will give credit where credit is due. When she wakes up, she cooks for everyone in the house, me, our kids, my mother-in-law, and even the nanny. She cooks all meals and snacks, except for breakfast, where I or our oldest child sometimes eat a simple meal in case they don't like what the school serves. She does the laundry for both the kids and herself, but she rarely folds and puts them away. I usually take care of my own laundry or send my work clothes to the dry cleaners. She is in charge of keeping track of our pantry and fridge, but after making the shopping list, I go out and buy everything. Or sometimes we get it delivered. She cleans the bathrooms in the house 50% of the time, and the other 50% is done by either my mother-in-law, myself, or occasionally the nanny if she wants to help more. 7. Before we hired the nanny, my mother-in-law was my wife's main help, but then she had unexpected medical needs, so I decided to hire a nanny to assist both of them, especially when my mother-in-law was undergoing treatment and recovering. Update. Number 1. I don't know if anyone will see this, but I want to thank those who have reached out and chatted with me. Even though I've been keeping my new friends updated, I thought I would update my post and keep it brief. I showed my wife my post the following weekend, and she read it along with all the comments. To make a long story short, we argued, and she left our house to stay with her sister. Since then, I've been taking care of our kids like a single parent. It's sad to say, but aside from saying goodnight to our kids, everything else is pretty much the same routine. There's not much else to say, except thank you for all the kind and encouraging words. I just want to add that this post got more attention than I expected for a venting post, and I have responded to a few comments. Nevertheless, thank you for the comments and direct messages, and especially for the offers to support me. It has been the highlight of my day-night as I sit here drinking with my dog while everyone else is asleep. It's depressingly sad that I feel the need to seek validation for my rant from random strangers on the internet. I apologize, in advance, for keeping this vague. Update number 2. To sum it up, my wife left and came back like nothing happened. She made it about herself, and nothing has changed. I'm still struggling mentally, knowing that nothing will change while trying to keep it together for our kids. We're eating a lot of takeout. The day after she left, my wife tried to return and take the kids to her sister's house. I wasn't okay with it, and her whole family, including her sister, agreed with me. It wouldn't be fair to our kids to take them away from their home and put a financial and housing burden on her family, since she doesn't work. And her sister's family, husband and 3 kids, are staying with their dad in his family home. My wife was away for over a week, but then she suddenly returned as if nothing happened. She walked into my office while I was on a conference call for work, and she stared at me angrily. I couldn't end the call since I was working. When I finished, she started yelling at me about how much I didn't care about her well-being. I couldn't do anything but shake my head. My mother-in-law came in and took my wife away, while our nanny kept our youngest child away from everything. Later that night, my wife came into my office, and we talked, argued, cried, and drank. Then we went to bed. The next morning, my wife complained about how hard it was to stay at her family's house. She compared her life to mine and our families, saying hers was harder even though we had similar upbringings. That morning, I felt really broken inside. I tried to talk things out with my wife, but it turned into a big argument. When I tried to talk about my stress and worries, my wife told me to figure it out myself and get over it. I feel like the woman I'm living with now isn't the same person I married and promised to raise our kids with. Since that conversation, I've been keeping my distance from her. After putting them to bed, I've been sleeping in my office, on the couch, or with my kids. But nothing has changed. I'm worried that even if we got divorced, things wouldn't feel different, and I'm scared of losing my kids. It's sad to say, but for now, I feel like I have to keep smiling and keep my suffering to myself, like a lot of men and some women that I've talked to here. I wanted to explain a bit more, as my last post was written in the heat of the moment after an argument. After the birth of our kids, the pediatrician's office gave my wife a test for postpartum depression. She scored highly on both occasions and was recommended to see a therapist. With our second child, her score was much higher, and despite my efforts, she refused help. This is one of the reasons why I'm not ready to give up on our relationship. Instead, my mother-in-law and our nanny have been providing support. I know that silently suffering won't create a healthy environment for our kids in the long run, but I also believe that a bitter, hate-filled divorce wouldn't be good for them either. Some people have compared the situation to ripping off a bandage. It hurts at first, but then the pain goes away. However, I'd rather not leave my kids thinking that their parents ended up hating each other because of them. Since my last post, I've had some private conversations with a few people. Before my promotion, I used to be a project manager, so I'm used to planning for different scenarios. I've made some backup plans in case things don't work out. I've spoken to 3 lawyers, know about our rights, and have a draft settlement ready, just in case. I want to ensure the well-being of our kids, and I'm prepared to offer more than what's fair for them. But I also have a plan if we end up going to court. I understand that it's my choice to keep my suffering to myself, but I'm too stubborn to give up. I just wanted to vent, and I don't expect anyone to feel bad for me. I keep going because I want to maintain the routine that our kids know, ensure that my mother-in-law's treatments aren't interrupted, and hope that my wife will eventually be open to trying therapy so we can work together towards a better future. Update number 3. I've had enough. During a Father's Day dinner with the therapist in our family, my wife insulted me in front of everyone. She was served legal papers, and she's upset. She's trying to act perfect while I take care of our family, kids, my mom, and mother-in-law. I might end up ruining everyone's life in my family. I want to clear up some confusion. I didn't earn 2 bachelor's degrees and a master's degree all at the same time while working 2 jobs, as some people have assumed. I earned my first bachelor's degree in the early 2000s. Later, I earned my second bachelor's degree online while working 2 full-time jobs, one at a hospital on a changing schedule and another at a big box store, where I worked every day of the week to pay for both my and my wife's tuition. After finishing my second bachelor's degree and starting my current job, I pursued my master's degree, so I did not earn 3 degrees simultaneously or in rapid succession. It's surprising that I have to clarify this, as it's not uncommon for people. I thought so. My wife chooses not to work, though she technically has a job. She barely works at it, and even forgets she has a job at times. Her job has a flexible model where she can choose to pick up shifts, but she only worked 1 day about 4 to 5 months ago. Despite having the opportunity to work more, she complains to our family about her career being on hold. We have offered her support to return to work, such as hiring a nanny, having my mother-in-law move in to help, me working from home, and her flexible work schedule. Despite all these efforts, she has not taken steps to go back to work. I've been going to therapy for myself, because my work and home life can be tough on my mental and physical health. I couldn't find the support I needed from my wife, so I chose therapy, over turning to unhealthy coping methods. I've tried to talk to my wife about this, but she tends to try to outdo my struggles, which makes things difficult. My in-laws are still together, but my mother-in-law moved in to help my wife, while my sister-in-law and her family moved back in with the parents for their own reasons. This helps my sister-in-law's family save money and get back on their feet, and it allows us to keep an eye on my mother-in-law while she receives treatments every 2 months. My wife likely has postpartum depression, along with a history of symptoms like OCD and ADHD that she hasn't gotten evaluated. I accepted her flaws and wanted to support her, but it's been challenging. Some people criticize me for prioritizing my wife, but I stay because I want to protect my children above everything else. I believe most fathers would do the same to shield their kids from any harm, even if it means enduring difficult situations with their spouse. Now for the update. We tried marriage counseling after some pressure from our family. It didn't go well. There was a lot of blaming, crying, and regret. In the end, my wife ignored the therapist's advice. The therapist asked her when she was last truly happy, and she said it was about 12 years ago when she was younger and without kids, living with her ex. I checked her phone records and found nothing unusual, but I didn't check social media apps. Father's Day wasn't a big celebration for me this year. Our family got together for a BBQ, but my wife didn't seem very interested in the day and spent a lot of time on her phone. During the family BBQ, my wife said she wasn't feeling well, so she mostly stayed seated while the rest of us had a good time. When we all sat down to eat, including her family and mine, our kids and me, it was a nice meal. I was talking with my brother-in-law about our kids' school activities for Father's Day. I mentioned it was sad to see some kids without their dads at the school event. To my surprise, my wife loudly joked, saying she could have gone instead of me, because I don't do anything anyway. Everyone went silent, and my mother-in-law suggested that maybe one of us should consider getting a divorce. My wife then made hurtful comments about me and laughed mockingly. Feeling angry and embarrassed, I left the house and went for a drink. I didn't check the house cameras to see what happened while I was gone. When I returned the next morning, the atmosphere at home felt different. I decided I was done with the situation and texted my lawyer to start the process of serving my wife with divorce papers. Last week, my wife was served divorce papers at home, and she had a mini meltdown and accused me of betraying her. Her mother tried to intervene, but my wife said I turned her whole family against her. However, since then, she has been acting like an attentive wife and mother, which she hasn't been for years. I'm aiming for full custody of our kids and covering all their expenses. My mother-in-law has been supportive, and I want to help her with her cancer treatment. I don't want a messy divorce, but I'm prepared for any challenges that may arise. My wife won't get alimony since our state doesn't typically enforce it, and she can get a job. I'll cover her bills until the divorce is final, or she gets a job. I'm done with this situation. The divorce process will take months, and I'm unsure if I'll update this story once it's finalized.